This is BYU Sports Nation, brought to you by the BYU Store, simulcast on BYU TV and BYU Radio. Now from Studio B, your hosts, Jerem Jordan and Jason Shepard.
BYU Sports Nation is live, your day-to-day play-by-play in Studio B, presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. It is Thursday, August 19th. Great to have you. Jason, I have a question for you. Are punters people?
Well, I go to the shirt. You are wearing the shirt that answers said question.
This is Ryan Rico's offering. I bought this. So
you may need to stand up a little bit so people can see.
I'm a Ryan Rico fan. Just check me out here. Yep, Ryan Rico. There you go. BYU's punter. Got me some punter swag.
Is this? Yeah, I was gonna say this. Is this?
Punters are people.
Is this Ryan's NIL deal? You're helping.
I gave
Ryan
him money.
Rico.
Yeah, I gave him money.
I noticed that you didn't buy some for all of us.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I would have enjoyed a Punters Are People Too shirt.
I don't have that jacket either, so I think we're even. Yes, punters are people too. Now, Brian Logan has been saying that punters aren't people. Yesterday, he said punters are, but kickers aren't.
Oh.
So it's like we didn't have time to distinguish why one is not.
Does this? I have to assume Johnny Linehan may have done something like this.
What do you mean?
Like I wonder if he had shirts like this, he just wasn't able to sell them.
Yeah, probably. And that had something to do with 4th and 19. By the way, the specialists wear a blue jersey like this so as to be distinguished and not hit like the corner.
That is a very cool shirt, though.
Yeah, I like it. I got it in the mail yesterday.
Do you mind telling me how much?
You want me to lose it?
Like what? How much was it?
Enough. It was more than 20.
Okay, no.
There you go. Yeah.
I don't know why we're being secretive about it, but that's fine.
It was with shipping. It was like in the low 30s.
Okay, that's a shirt.
I'm still in a 1990s mentality, like most of your life, of like what things should cost. So I'm thinking like, wait, isn't a T-shirt like $15?
$15?
No, it's like
easy there,
$30
money
now.
tree man.
Here's your show lineup. More compelling and rich content like that conversation. How long of a leash will the starting quarterback have? We'll discuss. Tom Hummel on how to keep Mark Pope at BYU. He was asked about that at Education Week, which is always fun for Parking for Us. Seneca Knight, transfer on the men's basketball team, joins the program. Excited to chat with him. And Jennifer Rockwell to join us as well, head coach of the number 15 women's soccer team. You'll be on the call tonight, Chef, for that. That's exciting. Against Ohio State, season opener. I am stoked. You're repping the soccer team as well. But first, let's get after it. Here's some headlines.
BYU fall camp continues in preparations for the season opener against Arizona coming up on September 4th. Defensive coordinator Elisa Tuiaki says his defensive line is progressing well, and some of that credit goes to the O-line.
Feel good about the personnel. We've got a lot of good bodies in there. And I think they're understanding the scheme and playing a little bit better. We're playing against what I think is a really, really good O-line day in, day out. And so it's making our young guys grow up fast, which we need.
Speaking of shirts, I liked Elisa's shirt as well.
You're really trying to get that built sponsorship.
I really need an NIL. I really need an NIL.
Your NIL has been available for a long time.
Like, honestly, if I had an NIL, I would immediately go with tonal. I want one of those tonal wall workout things.
More product placement. Headline 2. The Carolina Panthers released Micah Simon to make room for a newly signed offensive lineman. This just in, we don't like that move. And tonight, the Patriots with Kyle Van Noy and Harvey Longy play the Eagles in preseason week 2. Hopefully, Micah lands somebody else.
BYU Men's Hoops will host Texas Southern on November 24th. This, according to Texas Southern, which released its non-conference schedule yesterday. The Cougars beat the Tigers last season in Provo 87-71.
Number 15, BYU Women's Soccer hosts Ohio State, as mentioned tonight, 9 Eastern on BYU TV and the app. The season opener, let's go. They've met twice, a 3-0 BYU win in 2016 and a scoreless draw in 2017. And this just in, the Polynesian College Football Player of the Year Award watch list is out. Here are the BYU guys on the list. Chaz Ayu, Lorenzo Fauatea, Lopini Katoa, Puka Nakua, Neil Pau, Keenan Peely, Isaac Rex. You're like, Isaac Rex is Polynesian? Yes. And that's it. So congratulations to those
Congratulations
guys.
To all of them.
That's awesome. Zach Wilson was on that list last year because people forgot, oh, it's Dead Mike Polynesian?
Yes.
Yeah. like, wait, the white kid from Drake? Nope, he's half Polynesian. That's awesome. Okay, all rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending.
You're talking about it, and so are we. It's What's Trending on BYU Sports Nation.
What's Trending is presented by Tim Daly Nissan, part of the Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968. We are getting closer to kickoff, baby.
Countdown to the Wildcats.
16 days. That's always weird.
We are a Blaine Fowler away.
Oh, yeah, baby. We are a
Blaine Fowler away from kickoff.
A Baylor Romney away as well. Okay, no starting quarterback named as of yet. When the team does, Jason, we'll know who the guy is. I feel like that's what the conversation is right now. Who's the guy?
Right.
But when the guy is named, there are two guys anxious to play should they get the opportunity. So how long should the leash be for the starting quarterback?
I think I'm expecting the leash to be very long. Or, okay, maybe I'll take the word very out. I expect it to be a long leash. And the reason I say that is we've gone through, and certainly the coaches, the players, everyone that's going to be evaluating and part of this decision, they've gone through an entire offseason that included spring ball. Depending on how long it takes to name the quarterback, you're going to go through multiple weeks, if not the entire fall camp, before you actually name a starter. You're going to have all this evaluation process. I don't think you're going to go through all of that and then at the drop of a hat with one mistake, we're going to throw that all out the window.
Right, not one.
That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
And what's a mistake? An interception?
I expect, unless somebody comes out and it is an absolute disaster, talking just the offense.
2015 first quarter.
The offense cannot move, multiple turnovers and a half, something like that. I'm talking about a specific game. Then maybe you go with the backup just to mix it up and see what happens.
Yep.
But in terms of, I think once the guy is there, and by the way, the reason I don't see that scenario playing out is because I just don't expect
Arizona.
Arizona
doth stinketh.
But I just don't look at any three of the quarterbacks and say I don't expect any of it to be a disaster. Now that doesn't mean that there's not going to be turnovers. Of course, there's going to be turnovers.
Right.
But I expect whoever gets the starting nod, and I think we all expect it to be Jaron, that Jaron is more than capable of taking this offense where it needs to go. So I think the leash is long, because I think the evaluation process has been long, and they're not going to back up after going through that process and then naming a starter.
Yeah, Aaron Roderick on Media Day said the leash is long as well. So I have a dog. His name is Rex. He's 8 months old. He's a lab. And I have a leash that needs to be a little longer. It's annoying to walk with him on a shortish leash. I need a longer leash.
Oh, you're taking this literal. I like it.
Yeah, I would like a longer leash there. Jaron Hall in limited action has yet to turn the ball over, if I'm correct. So that's a thing. We need to see him play a little more. If the guy's Baylor Romney, Baylor is taking care of the ball pretty well. Does have 3 picks, but does have 8 touchdowns, right? 65% completion rate. Jacob Conover, we have yet to see in a game. I'm with you. I think it's a long leash, barring a disaster. And if it is disastrous, I would think it'd be like 2.5 quarters, right? Then you make a switch. Think 2011 Utah State, where Jake Keeps wasn't cutting it. Riley Nelson comes in, and miraculous things happen at the very end there. So, yeah, I think it's going to be long, but you have 2 dudes that competed at least 2 weeks to the date into fall camp, and there wasn't a starter named, meaning they like all 3 so far, or they like 2 of the 3 or whatever. Feels like it's all 3. So that makes sense. I think that leash will be long, and that's okay. Against Arizona, I don't expect issues. Against Utah, we've come to find that there are issues.
There always seems to be issues.
Turning the ball over specifically. And it is interesting because BYU doesn't have there's 2 sophomores who are essentially juniors, and then there's a freshman. So it's not like, hey, if Tanner Mangum isn't good enough, you go to Zach. It's like, well, there's 2 Tanner Mangums, if you will, in the situation where it's like either guy would work, has started games, we trust them. So we'll see how long that leash is.
Well, and if you take the coaches at their word that this is so close, because everybody's playing at a high level and nobody's separated themselves, then
I can see where that's good and bad.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like if there's a guy, step up, let's go. But if multiple are that good,
but if you have guys that all of them deserve to be starters, but only one can, if you have to go to somebody else, then in your own mind you're thinking, well, we're just putting in the other starter.
Unless that dude is like a I mean, Jacob Conover has a nice resume. I kind of stumble on what I'm saying here because I was going to say, unless that guy's like a 4-star that's legit, you don't hand the keys to him. Jacob Conover told Alabama no.
Look, I know I do not have a problem.
Pretty good.
If at the end of the day, Jacob Conover is the guy that they decide to go with, like, it's all about. I don't care if it's a freshman. I understand not wanting to throw things at guys and overwhelm them, but I think if a guy has proven, I don't worry about him being a freshman if that's the way they go. I just don't worry about it because they've seen him in practices more than we've seen him. They're going to know if he's the one that's capable of moving the offense.
To me, that'd be a massive indictment on Hall and Romney, not necessarily about how good Conover was. Because they've played, they've been in the program. They should be the ones that get the first opportunities.
And we expect them to.
Yes, Jacob Conover is going to be a stud here. I just think that the timing is a year or two out, right?
Yeah, I just don't like just eliminating somebody from the conversation just because he's a freshman and hasn't done it so far. Just means he hasn't done it yet.
Yep.
And Not that he can't. And if he plays, hasn't done it yet.
If he plays a lot, something happened with Holland Romney. That's my opinion. I love Jacob.
All right. Topic number 2, in his annual Education Week Q&A yesterday, Tom Holmoe was asked how he can keep Mark Pope at BYU. And Holmoe responded with the following, quote, "I love that guy. If he ever takes a job at Duke or North Carolina, I would be the happiest guy in the world. I really would, because I love that kid and I want him to be successful. But he's here now and we're going to ride that pony the best we can," end quote. What's your reaction to that comment?
First off, is it Lil Sebastian-like pony? What are we talking about here? Also, he calls him kid. That's fun. Sometimes, yeah, it's like Tom's 5-10 years away from retirement. There's an age gap there I never really thought about. I think of them as like a similar situation. And then, Tom, Duke or North Carolina? You mean Kentucky? Like, that's the one he wants in the end, I would think, as a former Kentucky player.
Well, maybe he wouldn't be happy for him if he – I'm kidding. I'm joking.
That's a great point.
I'm joking.
You know how you can keep someone is this, right? And BYU, luckily, is very competitive in that sense because of the generous donations of local, amazing businesses that in Utah County. So I think as long as Mark Pope wants to be here, he can be here given how successful he's been so far. Man, the model's worked through 2 years. We're going into year 3 feeling pretty confident about an NCAA tournament-type team and hopefully winning a game at least. So far, so good, man. The fact that, when I was little, I was like, Mark Pope, the tall, white Mormon dude on Kentucky. That's like who he was to me. And now he's our guy, our being Cougar Nation. Everybody loves this guy. Amazing personality, incredible recruiter. He's getting some really good talent here. Exciting things ahead. Hopefully he stays here for a long time. But one day he won't be here. Right. That's just a fact.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those situations where it's good and bad. It's good to have a guy that you know is successful and has proven that he can be successful, and we expect him to continue to be successful. But the other side of that coin is other people are going to notice how successful he has been. And so when I heard the quote, it was like, you know what? Let's not worry about what could happen down the road. He's here now. We are going to win a lot of basketball games because he's here right now. And if something happens down the road, we'll deal with that then. But let's enjoy the situation that BYU basketball fans have right now, because it is a very good one.
How good do you want BYU to be in a year? Because if they're too good, Mark Pope might get plucked. How good do you want him to be? If BYU goes to the Sweet 16 this year, there would be multiple Power 6 offers for Mark. Don't be deceived either. He gets tons of interest the last 2 years as well. So hopefully we can keep him as long as possible. Our question of the day, with 3 guys still competing for the spot, how long of a leash should the BYU starting quarterback have? Let's hear from you and Voice of the Nation.
This is the Voice of the Nation on BYU Sports Nation.
Weigh in on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. On Instagram, _Crowley19. Honestly, I wish we treated this more like a baseball pitcher, reliever, closer type mentality. That way the leash for any of them is pretty short, but they don't lose confidence in themselves knowing they have a defined role on the team. Yeah, when Robbie Bosco took over for Steve Young, he struggled the first couple of drives, and Lavelle pulled him over and said, "Hey, you're our guy. Don't worry about it." And if I'm Blaine Fowler over there, I'm like, "Wait, can I get in?" These guys are competitive and they want to play. Go watch the media day conversation we had with all 3 together, which I've yet to see anyone else do this, by the way. It was really fun to have all 3 talk together about this situation. Okay, at Cougar A70. You don't put leashes on Cougars. That's the scientific fact, I think, right? Especially that one in the canyon. Do you remember that?
I do remember it. Dude!
But the starter can't be afraid to make a mistake because every QB will make them. Yeah, amen. All three are mega confident and need to occasionally take appropriate risks. Go Cougs. Yes.
Yes.
That's well phrased.
I think when the starter is named, when Jaron Hall is named the starter, Jaron Hall is going to have success as the BYU quarterback. We've seen it. We've seen what he can do.
Because Arizona. And then let's do it against Utah. Let's go.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes. I don't believe there's going to be a scenario where you're going to have to worry about that. Certainly against Arizona.
You hope not.
You certainly hope not. Yes, absolutely not. All right, coming up, what was Zach Wilson and Aaron Rodgers talking about yesterday?
No one else has this information. We've got it. We'll guess at it. And Seneca Knight of Cougar Hoops joins us, the transfer from San Jose State and LSU. Why BYU and what's in store for him in Provo? This is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by the Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968.
When my grandfather started this company in 1947, he couldn't have envisioned what we would ultimately become. We realized that our value to our customers is that we will be there day after day, year after year, doing whatever we need to find solutions to the challenges that they face. We are committed to be honestly better in all that we do, in every opportunity that we have to serve our customers.
Dexter & Dexter is a full-service law firm offering a wide range of legal services. Since 1995, we have helped more than 20,000 Utahns both to navigate life's challenges and to make the most of life's opportunities. From auto accidents to criminal defense, and from bankruptcy to family law, we are passionate about shouldering your burdens. To learn more about scheduling a no-obligation consultation, visit dexterlaw.com.
Let's kick off AFR on BYU TV.
What they did in that fourth quarter was not unexpected in my book.
Everyone did their job perfectly, and it resulted in, obviously, a touchdown.
Who knew that he had these kind of hands?
And right at the snap of the football, they both go right downhill. And that was the end of that. He knocked him down pretty quickly.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
BYU Soccer kicks off its season tonight on BYU TV and the app. Watch as the Cougars host Ohio State at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
The Ohio State, are you going to use that tonight on the broadcast?
Call him the.
You call him the? Ohio State?
I would probably just skip it all together and just say Ohio State.
Yeah. We're live in Studio B. Jeremy Jordan alongside Jason Shepard here for BYU Sports Nation. Our next guest is introduced with a stat of the day.
It's the BYU Sports Nation stat of the day.
Seneca Knight averaged 17.1 points per game in 2019 and 20 at San Jose State. He played a couple of games last year and then opted out. He now joins us from the Marriott Center Annex, where he is BYU Cougar now. He is BYU Cougar. Seneca, it's great to have you on the show, man. Welcome to BYU.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me.
Okay, let's start with sort of your journey to this point. You started LSU. You don't play there. You end up transferring to San Jose State. We talked about the fantastic season you had when you played the full year 2 years ago. And here you are at BYU. So how'd you get here, man?
So technically, I started at San Jose State, then went to LSU back in January during, COVID and everything, decided to go closer back home and everything, but just felt like it wasn't the right fit for me and my development. So when I got the opportunity at the end of June to leave, I took advantage of it. I ended up at BYU.
Take us through why BYU was the right place for you. When did the Cougars become serious contenders for you to go and play for them, and why was it the right fit for you?
I would say they've reached out right away, and I just had interest in it right away. Talking to Coach Nick, back in January during my recruitment process, I talked to Coach Cody. So them reaching out again, just from the jump, I was just like, I wouldn't say on board, but I was willing to hear them out more. And then, you know, especially after my visit, we took some Zoom calls and everything. We had about 2-3 Zoom calls. And then once I took my visit, just falling in love with the guys, the team, the atmosphere, you know, even the fans. I even got love from the fans on Twitter and everything. I just felt like this would be the best situation for me as a person and to be able to get better at basketball. Well,
we're stoked to have you. I think you add an element to this team that was perhaps missing and that would have helped against UCLA in the NCAA tournament, a little bit of perimeter length. 6'7", 215, you're from Louisiana. Describe your game for people who are getting introduced to you as a basketball player.
So as everybody may know now that I'm a scorer, but also being able to be versatile on the offensive end, so including passing, scoring, also defensive end, you know, using my length, being 6'7", taking advantage of that, along with also being able to draw fouls. I was one of the top in the country the year I played in drawing fouls and shooting free throws. So just say a very versatile game and just being able to go out there and whatever coach needs, just knowing that I'm capable of doing it.
Let's talk more about those two things you just brought up. So I looked up on KenPom.com this morning, those very two facts you just brought up. So 37th in fouls drawn 2 years ago. So do you like to take the ball to the rim and try and draw a foul? Is that a strength of your game?
Yes, sir. That's definitely a strength of my game. Definitely like to have the defender on their toes. And, you know, being able to switch it up from now, like every now and again. And so they just have difficulty of guarding me.
And then you took 200 free throws. I mean, that's a pretty good number. You want to get to the free throw line, it sounds like?
Yes, sir, most definitely. It's definitely something that me and Coach Pope talked about when he was recruiting me as well. And that's definitely something that, you know, it helps the game in so many ways.
You mentioned it a second ago, Seneca. Everybody knows you can score. We mentioned, 17 points the last full season at San Jose State, but I want to talk about the defensive side. You talked about your length. How important a part of your game is the fact that you can be one of those wing defenders that everybody really seems like, whether it's college, the pros, everybody's looking for somebody that can defend on the wing?
Yeah, it's definitely something very important to me. It's definitely something that we've been working on since I got here from day one as well. I know defense is something I've always been somewhat decent at, but just being able to fine tune and, learning the right way of how to play defense. And I feel like being in this system, it could really just take off. And, you can never be too good at defense, and every team needs a defender. So I'm just trying to do my part.
And hey, and let's be honest, if you're going to play defense, you're always going to get the minutes from the coaches. They love those guys that play the defense.
Oh, definitely.
Let's talk about your three-point shooting. So 29%. What is the staff doing to help you increase that to get into the mid to high 30s?
So every single day, me, Coach Cody, Coach Nick, Coach Bergs, even Coach Pope, we focus on me owning my shot. So making sure I stay there through the follow through and to the ball either goes in or it hits the rim. And just, little minor mechanics and stuff like that, but really just getting a whole bunch of repetition every single day, working on it. And it's definitely been paying off.
Let's get to know you off the court. Give everybody an idea of what type of person you are, what you do when you get away from basketball. What do you like to do when you're not playing basketball?
So some of my favorite things to do when I'm not playing basketball is hanging out with my family, playing with my dog. I have a dog. He's a lab. His name is Lucky. And I love scenery, so that's another reason I chose to come to BYU because, the mountains, I seen the reservoir on my visit, and I fell in love with the atmosphere. I like to be able to get away and, just relax your mind and everything. So I say the movies, my dog, family, and scenery are like my favorite things to do.
Have you had a chance to hike the Y yet? I know you've been here. You've been here a couple weeks. Have you gone up the mountain yet?
No, sir, not yet, but it's definitely something I'm looking forward to in the near future.
Well, we know you went up the hill pushing a golf cart because Brad Kitchen's golf cart quit. Tell us the story there.
Man, so we coming back from getting my fuel card, and I don't know what street it is, but, up the ramp and everything right by the light. And we just going, and then out of nowhere, the cart just stopped, and he looked at me. He was like, the cart died. I thought he was joking. I was like, bro, you got to be kidding me. And then next thing you know, he wasn't joking. So we had to get out, push it uphill. Some of the freshmen came and help us out. And yeah, it was definitely just a workout before practice and everything too. It was hot that day. And you just imagine pushing a heavy cart up a hill. I'm pretty sure nobody's looking forward to that.
Hey, it's a preseason. You're putting in that work, right?
Definitely. Got to get it how you can.
So last year, the team talked a lot about the best locker room in America. That was the thing that was honestly quite evident if you were able to see this team. Everybody got along really, really well. That has carried over again to this season. Since you've been here, have you been able to see why they said it was the best locker room in America? And what is this group like when you guys get together?
Most definitely. It's something that Coach Pope really emphasized on, and he made sure that we hang out and be able to bond and get to know one another. So being in the locker room for day one, you just feel the family-like atmosphere. They all your brothers and everything, so they all got your back, whatever you need, and it's just a fun, enjoyable, goofy locker room to be in. You just try to make the best of it, even going to practice and everything. It's always fun, like you want to be here.
Who have you connected with the most so far?
I'll say Tijon and AB, Alex Barcelo. And Caleb. I'm cool with Caleb. I'm cool with all of them, but Caleb, that's my guy too.
Caleb seems like a great hang.
Yeah, definitely. Cool vibe, chill vibe. I love it.
Yeah, he seems like no judgment ever whatsoever. Like, whatever you want to do, that's great. Tell us about Alex as a leader, because we've seen it in practice before and we've seen it on the court. Now he's back for a third year, which is awesome. Now he's got the task of kind of rallying these troops from the player's perspective. What's he like as a leader of what you've seen so far?
Alex is a great leader. He's always somebody you could go to and talk to about anything on the court, off the court. I know when me first getting here and everything, just being able to ask him certain questions about getting ready for the season, throughout the ins and out of the plays, ins and out of, just being here and everything, since he was a transfer as well. And he's always there to give like 110% on the court. And he's always there to help you with whatever you need, advice, or, even the other day we was moving some stuff to our new place and he's coming to help. It's just somebody that you can always count on. And he's very vocal on the court as a leader as well. So, he's just a leader in and out, on the court, off the court. It's just a part of him.
Anytime you're going to go to a new program, it's going to be different. You're not going to know people. How much has it helped that this roster has a lot of other guys in a similar situation to you that, it's their first time here on this team? How much has that helped you acclimate?
It helped me out a lot, especially, coming in so late at the end of, July. So being able to talk to them since they got here in June and everything, just, not knowing that I'm the only one that's going through certain situations. So like messing up on certain things, just knowing that I wasn't the only person. I won't be the first, I won't be the last, but they always there just to piggyback up and just say that they was in my position as well. So it really helped me out a lot, just being able to relate to one another.
How many years do you have to play here?
2.
You have 2. Okay, awesome. Did you get a waiver already to play, or do you need one?
I need a waiver. We in the works of it right now, so we finished a couple of things yesterday, so we hopefully able to get out that waiver pretty soon.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then I did want to ask you, along the lines of what Jason mentioned, off the court stuff, who or what have influenced you the most in your life and kind of made you who you are? And that doesn't have to be a single thing.
I would say my family, definitely my cousins, my mom and dad. This girl that I grew up with since before I was born, so she's been there and is like my sister. So it's definitely them. They always keep me grounded, always keep me humble, keep working, and just, take advantage of every day you have. So just being in that environment, or just growing up with them and having them around me, definitely just made me who I am, be able to be an enjoyable person when I'm off the court and be about business when I'm on the court.
Seneca, I don't know what your feelings were towards the color red prior to coming to BYU, but now that you're here, are you aware that you can no longer like the color red?
Yes, sir, I'm aware. It was kind of a struggle, I'm not going to lie. Red was my favorite color, but getting here, blue started to rub off more and more.
It is what it is, right? Tell us a little bit more about growing up in Louisiana and Lafayette. Obviously, we've heard of Louisiana Lafayette, right? And there's LSU, and there's the Ragin' Cajun, and, football's really good down there. When did you start playing basketball? What was life like in Louisiana growing up?
So originally, I lived in Louisiana to the age of 4, and the year before Katrina, I moved to Jonesboro, Arkansas, until the age of 12, and then I moved back to New Orleans. So just growing up there, it has its problems just like every other place across the nation and everything. I know people probably heard of some things of this and that, but, you just got to make the best of whatever situation you're in. And then I started playing basketball really my whole life, but I never really started playing it competitively till like maybe 6 years ago. I never really played AAU. That wasn't like a thing that me and my parents really were into. It was just more on working on my game and developing my game. And, you know, just going from school to school. So I went to a school in Chalmette, right outside of New Orleans. Then my dad got a job at Lafayette. So that's how I ended up back in Lafayette my last 2 years of high school. Went to Northside High School, which also has, you know, its problems like every other place. But, you know, if you just focused on what you want to accomplish and your goals and everything, you know, it's not that hard to stay out of trouble.
You mentioned your family quite a few times just in this interview. Obviously, it means a lot to you. Has your family been out here since you've been here? And are they going to be able to come out and see some games during the upcoming season?
They haven't been out here yet, but my mom's coming out next weekend. And, of course, my dad and mom's going to be able to make a game or two, maybe three. I don't know. My mom's really invested. My dad's very invested. So don't be surprised if you see them at more than half of the home games. They love basketball. They love supporting, you know, me and whatever team I'm on. So they just great people. So don't be surprised if you see them.
Okay, so your mom's coming out. You have her make what meal? I've got to assume there's one thing you want her to make when she comes out here that you can eat. What is it?
Oh, that's a good question. I love my mom's green bean casserole, so I might have to ask for green bean casserole.
Seneca, I don't know if you understand how much you have endeared yourself to people in the state of Utah. If there is one state in the United States that likes casseroles, it's Utah. And the fact that you've said casseroles is just going to endear you even more to Cougar fans.
Man, that's crazy. I even realized it.
We love
a casserole.
We love a good casserole.
We love a good casserole.
A good Jell-O, I think, yeah. Well, tell us what the next couple of weeks are going to be like before school starts, as you guys, I know, kind of had summer practice and you're doing conditioning and whatnot. What's life like before school starts and then until we get into the season in November?
Okay, so, yeah, some of the guys, you know, these 2 weeks, they'd be able to go back home, take a break. They've been working very hard since they got out here at the beginning of June. But for me and a couple of other guys, I'm going to stay out here and keep working, keep getting better to try to make up for lost time as much as possible. And then just going heading into the season. So just, you know, when everybody get back, start hitting even harder, working harder, and then eventually going to two-a-days and just prepare for the season. Just continue getting that chemistry down, continue learning the ins and outs of the plays, and just trying to be the best we could possibly be on that first day, on the first game.
Well, Seneca, we're stoked. You're at BYU. You look great in blue. You like casseroles. We've learned a ton about you. Hopefully you get that waiver to be able to play. We'll be paying attention to that. And thanks for the time, man.
Thank y'all. I really appreciate y'all having me.
Thanks. That's Seneca Knight, men's hoops. I'm stoked. He's a really nice add to this team. And like you talked about, he was excellent at drawing fouls, getting to the free throw line, working on that the threes. Average 17 a game. I will always take a 17 a game guy. That San Jose State team struggled a little bit, but he took advantage of the opportunity, and now he's at BYU. I'm very excited. You can work on becoming a better shooter, but we know he's a scorer. He talked about how important the defensive side of his game is to him. That's obviously going to be important to the coaches. There's so many things about him. It's the first time I'd had a chance to talk with him. I really enjoyed his personality, and you can tell he is super excited to be here. And I've said this before with different guys. There is a place at BYU for all types of people. And I love that Seneca Knight, not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, from Louisiana. There is a place for more Seneca Knights at BYU. So great to have him here, and hopefully gets that waiver, because I'm banking on him playing. And we've already penciled him in, right? I'm like, he's in the starting lineup, right? Like, he's starting three. I think if BYU had had a guy like Seneca Knight in the UCLA game, that could have made a huge difference, because that kind of perimeter length defensively will add, let alone his scoring. So it's exciting, man. Yeah, looking forward to him on the court. All right, coming up, women's soccer head coach Jennifer Rockwood. And will she call it the Ohio State or the Ohio State? And is Cosmo an Avenger? We've got some information you need to know. This is BYU Sports Nation.
Trio Orem Senior Living believes in empowering seniors to live life to the fullest. We help eliminate stress out of daily life when you live at Trio. Less time focusing on housework means you can socialize at one of our many events, with safety in mind, of course. And did we mention our spacious apartments with modern amenities? Learn more about setting up a private tour at trioorem.com.
Hi, Spencer Linton here, letting you know when your company joins the BYU team as a corporate partner, your brand can be featured in sports programming on BYU TV and BYU Radio. In addition to all of the great games, you can be part of the BYU coaches shows, place your message in Countdown to Kickoff, basketball pre- and post-game shows, and each weekday on BYU Sports Nation. We invite your team to join ours and become a corporate sponsor of BYU Athletics. For details, email sponsorship@byu.edu today.
Familiar with the BYU TV app? Yes.
I beg your pardon?
Sure, it's got great original TV shows. But it also gives you access to family films for free.
Wow. Awesome!
So gather around, grab some popcorn, and let us do the rest.
It'll be fun.
Watch some of your favorite films anytime, anywhere. With the free BYU TV app.
I like it.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Visible Supply Chain Management.
On the latest BYUSN right now, Kiki talks to Gunnar Romney about the receivers and learns they may just have the most personality and athleticism. How about that? Check it out. Weigh in on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
The source is the receivers, right? And Gunnar Romney. Did the DBs agree to that?
No, probably not. Probably not.
Yeah. He is Jason. I'm Jerem. This is BYU Sports Nation. Let us whip it. Cougar Whip Round is presented by Visible Supply Chain Management, tackling America's most challenging shipping problems.
Zach Wilson and one Aaron Rodgers broke the NFL internet yesterday with them hanging out and talking at a combined Jets-Packers scrimmage yesterday. What do you think they were talking about?
Probably swag, because a year ago, Zach Wilson said, as a player, I love how Aaron Rodgers plays. You know, he's my guy, but as far as the swag, the way he dresses, he doesn't have any. He has no swag. If he was to wear a cool helmet, get rid of that single buckle chin strap, shave a little bit, get rid of the baggy sleeves, you know, he could have some cool swag going for him. So Zach posted on Instagram a picture of them shaking hands and said, swag at Aaron Rodgers, whatever. So I'm sure they were talking about those comments, but really cool experience for one of the greatest players ever to be able to talk with Zach Wilson.
And it really is true. I think actually Zach was trying to get some sort of discount on insurance. He was like, I know you got an in.
I'm pretty sure Zach's going to be all right.
And Zach's like, you know, and if I can't get this from you, I'm going to call Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, my gosh. We haven't had coaches on bikes yet this fall, but we did get our first taste of coaches working out with Preston Hadley and Gennaro Guilford of the BYU football coaching staff in the weight room. One part of the video showed our homie Gavin Fowler in sweatpants and a hoodie. Preston called him Sweatpants Gavin. Jason, are you a sweatpants guy in the gym?
I am not. I love Gav, but I'm not sweatpants guy.
I get too hot.
Shorts.
I need to be.
It has to be shorts.
Although I did wear a hoodie recently. So
that's fine.
but I didn't go sweatpants.
That's fine. But yes, no sweatpants.
Hey, let's comment on the technique here from Gav. Solid.
But see, I don't call those sweatpants.
What do you call them?
Those are more like training pants.
Training pants.
Sweatpants are heavier to me.
Oh, okay.
Those
are these sweatpants?
Those are sweatpants.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
I would call. So
sweatpants, Jason.
Yeah. You're the one wearing them, sweatpants, Jerem.
Yes, I love Gav. Gav's the best.
Gav is the best. All right, an early rise and shout out to Scarlett Johansson, aka the Black Widow, for naming her son Cosmo. She had a baby boy yesterday, named him Cosmo. How cool is that? But wait. Isn't that trademark infringement on Cosmo? Should Cosmo sue Black Widow?
I see what you did there. No. But that is cool with Cosmo. That's awesome.
Look, I'm telling you.
Would you name a kid Cosmo?
Probably not.
Cosmo Shepherd? Cosmo Jordan kind of sounds cool, maybe?
There are now 3 Cosmos.
Yeah.
The Cosmo, Cosmo, son of Black Widow.
And Cosmo Kramer.
And Cosmo Kramer.
There you go.
It's awesome.
That's true.
All right, coming up.
Only 3.
A rise and shout out to elite use of your allowance.
And Jennifer Rockwood, the women's soccer coach, will join us to preview the season and the matchup with Ohio State tonight. Let's go, baby! This is BYU Sports Nation.
Hey Cougars, Coach Dave Rose here. I might not be on the court right now, but I still play on my sport court basketball court at home. Now more than ever, we all need a safe place to stay home, stay healthy, and play with family. I have an active family with my kids, grandkids, former players. My wife and I decided the best thing we could give our family is the gift of backyard memories. Sport Court provides a place to help kids become champions, and they're certainly popular in our neighborhood. For our new home, we chose Sport Court. Learn more about designing yours at sportcourt.com.
This is where we dominate. Our playground, place of business. This is our promised land, where we seek to find ourselves. And we're here to make sure the spaces our best prove themselves on appear how they should. Intermountain Healthcare, official medical provider for BYU Athletics.
One thing Mountain America has learned over nearly a century of helping members achieve their financial dreams is that we are stronger together. We achieve great things together. And while we are still here to serve you, we know together feels different right now. It might take some time, but we're looking forward to the day when we can gather together again. We're still here, guiding you forward.
We're all in with BYU TV Sports. Don't miss BYU Women's Soccer tonight. Watch all of your favorite teams on BYU TV, your home for Cougar sports.
I like it out here. Nothing to worry about. No shark attacks, bee stings, just the endless void of space. Wait, that's worse.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
BYU TV is sending 2 Cougar football fans to the season opener against Arizona in Las Vegas. 1 grand prize winner gets a trip for 2, including flight, transportation, and lodging, plus tickets to the game. 5 second-place winners will receive a BYU football fan pack and a Roku. Follow BYU TV Sports on social media for details. Winners will be selected at random. Entry, by the way, does not guarantee a prize. The winners will be announced tomorrow on BYU Sports Nation. Today's word is loyal.
Okay, it ends tonight, and we'll announce tomorrow. So
Loyal
let's
is
go.
the word.
Loyal to the Royal. Let's go. Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. Jeremy Jordan alongside Jason Shepard. It is a ball night at Southfield. Women's soccer season kicking off. Number 15 BYU taking on Ohio State, who's just out of the polls at 26. And the head coach of the BYU Cougars, Jennifer Rockwood, now joins us, who is the greatest Rick's college basketball player turned BYU women's soccer coach in history. Right, Jen?
That is certainly true. I can say that's a true statement. Well, I think it is.
Yes, you're the only coach in BYU women's soccer history. So there we go. How good of a basketball player at Rick's were you, by the way, before you transferred to BYU?
I was okay. I wouldn't say I was fantastic or great or anything, but, I was okay.
Were you a better soccer player than basketball player?
Yeah, I think so.
Nice.
I did, I'm back in the day, I'm old where, you could play 4 sports and be just fine. So.
It's true. Let's go. Okay. You're starting what feels like the, who knows what season, 27 seasons, I think now. You played in the spring, unique, right? Because it was just a couple months ago you were playing competitively in the NCAA tournament. Now you're playing and kick off tonight with a massive game against Ohio State. How is this team prepared and is maybe more ready than normal because you did play in the spring?
Yeah, I think this team's really prepared. I think we've done everything we could do. We ended on a bit of a note that we didn't like losing to Virginia, and so I think that created a lot of the anxiousness for us to start the new season. So girls worked hard over the summer, quick turnaround. They're anxious to get back on the field, and I think we're just ready to go. Super excited to see how we look against a real quality opponent.
Even though you returned so many starters and a lot of production, where have you seen this team appear better from even just a couple of months ago when the season ended?
I think just overall our confidence and our experience. I mean, last season we were building a new back line. You know, we had Cass in goal, who this was her first experience as a starting keeper. So, you know, we played a really tough schedule in the spring. I think we played more games than most any team in the country. And so got a lot of really good experience. We're very fortunate that our seniors had the opportunity to come back and play a fall season. And so I think just defensively, our team is better and more confident. That's something that we grew a lot from last season.
Yeah, that was a question in the spring, right? Those back five, and as you talked about, you're gaining more confidence, more experience, which is great. In terms of the other six, the midfielders and the forwards, this is a group that scores a lot of goals, a lot of talent, led by Michaela Coulihan. How are they shaping up offensively?
Again, I just think that the experience that we had this last spring has brought more confidence and just a lot more leadership and experience on the field. And we haven't spent a lot of time. I mean, we've only been training for a week and a half, or just barely 2 weeks now. We've spent most of our focus on defensive presence, our press, which leads right into our attack and our offense. And, you know, we just know that we can score goals. And so we haven't spent a ton of time on it. But I just think that's kind of that natural instinct that we tried to instill in our players, is to get forward, get in our opponent's attacking half, get good looks at the goal. And we were able to do that against Weber State. So I think that was certainly a good start for us.
If all you did, Coach, was just look at the stats of Michaela Coulihan, you would obviously realize just how great she is. What makes her such an impactful player on the pitch and will go down as one of the greatest BYU soccer players ever?
Yeah, Kayla certainly brings a ton of qualities to the field. And I think right now, if you watch us play, you can just tell how easy the game comes to her. She makes it look simple. That's what all the great players do. They make the game look easy. She has a very high soccer IQ, so she understands the game. She understands how to find the ball, what to do when she gets the ball. And now she's also brought a lot of her leadership into our team and on the field, and then also instills that confidence in other players. So we certainly rely on her a lot, both on both sides of the ball. She starts our defensive press, and then we look for her in the attack. So just brings so many great qualities, has worked so hard over her career here, and such a true and a great example to her teammates.
Tremendous attacking midfielder. And then you look at Cameron Tucker, got banged up against Weber State. What's the latest on her?
Yeah, you know, we're concerned about Cam. She's not going to be able to play tonight, unfortunately. But the good news is we think she'll only be out maybe a couple weeks. So she says she's going to be a quick healer, fast recovery. So that's just going to be kind of a day-to-day thing right now at this point. But we'll definitely have to have some players step up since we won't have her this weekend for opening games.
Who replaces Cam up front tonight?
Well, Rachel McCarthy will start up top. You know, Rachel was a first-team all-conference player for us. So, you know, we have a lot of confidence in her. She's proven to score a lot of goals. I think she was our second leading goal scorer on the team last year. So, you know, we're in good hands there. We feel like we have a really deep bench, deeper than we even had last season. So we'll rely on that a lot as well tonight.
What a great way to begin the season. Two really good teams, Ohio State coming out here. This is a team that you've faced 2 times before in the last 5 years, so you're certainly familiar with coaching staff and kind of what they want to do. What stands out to you most when you look at the Buckeyes in this matchup tonight?
You know, they're also coming off a very good season. They played in the spring, did well, made it to the NCAA tournament, second round, kind of ran into Santa Clara, but they returned also most of their starters, I think 9 out of their 11. So, you know, I think they're coming in also with a lot of great experience and confidence. You know, they're just a great athletic team. They're very well coached, very organized, and we're really going to have to be at our best. But, you know, we love playing at South Field. I think our energy will be fantastic. Really impressed with the way we came out against Weber State last time we were out on South Field. So lots to look forward to. I think it'll be a fantastic college match tonight.
We're talking to Jennifer Rockwood, the women's soccer coach on BYU Sports Nation. Regarding Santa Clara, How was that emotionally watching them win the national championship? Because you were one seed line away from them. You split the regular season, and they had kind of the magical special national championship season. Were you happy for them, but were you also jealous? Like, did that motivate in the offseason to be like, hey, we can do that? How did you guys feel about that?
I think all the emotions that you just talked about certainly came to mind. I watched all of their games during the tournament. And first, I didn't want to watch the Final Four of the national championship game because I was jealous. We've been so close. We've tried so hard to get to that Final Four and haven't quite made it yet. So I was a little jealous, but at the same time, I was totally cheering for Santa Clara. Really respect that program and those coaches and those players. We saw all of those players twice this season and was really happy for them and excited. And they had a lot of alumni in the stands as well. And it was actually fun to recognize a lot of their alumni that we've played over the years, and just really happy for them, happy for the WCC and representing, and then also giving our players and our staff the realistic vision that if Santa Clara can do it, why can't we do it? We certainly have been the strongest team in the WCC over the last several years and really dominated the conference. So I think that's certainly a realistic goal. And this group has that goal. They want to win the national championship.
One of the reasons that Southfield is such an intimidating place is because of the fans and the fan support and how loud they get. And I know fans are excited to be able to come tonight. In terms of like weather and air quality, it seems like everything is trending in a very positive manner for tonight. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're very optimistic. I already had several meetings with games management, admin, and their head coach. So things are looking good. It's just kind of like it's been the last year. You wake up in the morning, you're not sure if you're going to be able to play or not. But we will be ready if we're allowed to go. But things are trending in the right direction as far as the smoke, as far as the lightning. And we plan on being out at Southfield. If something were to happen that we weren't going to, we do have some contingency plans and possibly play in the indoor practice facility.
Okay, live on BYU TV and the BYU TV app tonight at 9 Eastern. Jen, we appreciate the time. We look forward to it. It's going to be the beginning of a fun season.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Jason, nice jacket. Way to represent.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you.
Jennifer Rockwood, always ripping on BYU Sports Nation. She's awesome. And, again, the Santa Clara element is a real interesting wrinkle in this whole conversation because literally it was 11 and 12 seeds, BYU and Santa Clara. And Santa Clara had this run. And it's like BYU has been so close, including 2019, Elite Eight. It's possible. It's possible to simulate that, to do that.
Well,
Santa Clara showed the way.
And I love the fact that she said all those emotions that you brought up. And I think
jealousy,
every single person that would have been in that situation would have felt the exact same way. You're excited for them because they're from your league, you know them, but you're also jealous, like, we could have done that too.
BYU's actually been a better program, as Jen mentioned, the last several years.
And the fact that BYU went there this year and picked up their very first win ever at Santa Clara, got the win on the road. The eventual.
Okay. It's going to be a huge game at Santa Clara in the regular season.
I get to call that.
Yeah, you do.
That is a conflict game with Greg, so I get to go to Santa Clara and call that game.
There's no conflict when you're calling it.
Stop. All right. Coming up, the Elite Boys.
And a modern-day BYU sports version of the Widow's Might. We'll tell you what happened yesterday on campus. This is BYU Sports Nation.
If I got hurt and was laid up at home, I wouldn't even think to call a lawyer. What a hassle. I'd want to meet them first.
What if I told you that for your first consultation, your lawyer will come to you, home or hospital?
Really?
Really.
They do that?
If you've been injured, we'll come to you. It's your job to get better. It's our job to deal with the insurance companies.
Learn more at siegfriedandjensen.com.
What makes BYU TV's Supergirls of Summer so super? Their bravery, service, honesty, courage, curiosity, kindness, determination, and their desire to change the world around them. Watch the Supergirls of Summer on BYU TV and the free BYU TV app.
This is BYU football with Kalani Sitake and Greg Wrubell.
When I was younger, I was a better dancer. Don't show any more dancing. Yeah, okay, good. I think we've developed some really good habits the last couple of weeks and looking to step it up again. A lot of great things can happen when they carry.
Not bad. That's good stuff.
Hey.
Yay.
Yeah, thank you for ending on that one. That was a good one.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Mountain America Credit Union, guiding you forward.
BYU Sports Nation always available on demand via the free BYU TV and BYU Radio.
You can also download the podcast. All you need to do is Google BYU Sports Nation podcast. While you're there, subscribe, rate, and review.
Our question of the day, with 3 guys still competing for the starting quarterback spot, how long of a leash should that guy have? At Joe Brady 12 on Twitter. Should be pretty long. It's important for the players to not be looking over their shoulder every play. I think the starter should be the starter for at least 2 games before any changes are made due to poor play. It could get real bad to where you want to make a change.
You think there's a Ja Brady 12? Like a Joe and Ja from back in the day?
Yes. That was John Beck, not Jason Beck. Just kidding. In response, our elite voice of the day is presented by Sundance Mountain Resort at Mad Eye Cosmo, no relation to Scarlett Johansson. A-Rod said he's not a guy that pulls people out just because they make a mistake, which shows faith, and I like that. My philosophy is throw a pick once, shame on you. Throw a pick twice, shame on me. Throw a pick thrice, you sit next to the Powerade. Yeah, and maybe it's 2015's Vegas Bowl, first quarter. Like, maybe that's...
let's not ever see
I know, it's the worst.
That scenario play out again,
so
ever.
Bad.
Especially against Utah.
After it was 35-0, I went over to the edge, and I just keeled over and just, like, exhaled like that in frustration. Like, oh, my gosh.
It's just like, I need to compose
hate my life so much right now. Today's Rise and Shoutouts, presented by Mountain America Credit Union, the official credit union of BYU Athletics. So yesterday,
this is
Tom
such a cool
Homo,
story.
The athletic director presents to a class at Education Week. He does this every year. Why? I don't know, but he makes himself so accessible. He's great. And he talks about the All In campaign and how they raised $15 million plus for that. And there was a teenager who gave him a crumpled up $10 bill after to help the cause.
That is so cool.
That's pretty awesome. So shout out to that teenager for doing that. We don't know your name, but if we do, let us know. We'll mention it. That's pretty awesome. Okay, thanks to today's guests, Seneca Knight and Jennifer Rockwood.
Conversation continues 24/7 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always use hashtag BYUSN.
You know what I haven't done in like 2 years?
Are we back to throwing the football?
Are you ready?
None of the people back here have any clue what you're even doing.
I haven't thrown it forever. Someone reminded me I did that.
You usually do that right as we go to break.
Well, they took a shot, so I had to get it in. Sorry to Dennis Pitta, ran out of time. For Jason Umjerum, shout out to Katie Larkin. Women's soccer against Ohio State tonight, 9 Eastern. Go Cougs.